Hi guys, welcome to Final Gravity Band Chat. So we have Matt and Sarah Luca from Transplants Brewing, and they do all the wonderful things to make beer like our wonderful Sincerely Satan beer. And we also have BL Singleton, who makes all the amazing artwork and made our wonderful Sincerely Satan guy. So hi guys,
How's it going?
welcome.
Oh,
When we do our Final Gravity band chats, we always have to start with what are you drinking? For I think most of us in Final Gravity
All of
have
us.
our most amazing newly brewed beer, Sincerely Satan.
yeah.
Yeah, look at that. So we've got a
We're
few,
all drinking that.
so we're all on the same page.
Sure.
Today is Sincerely Satan. Cheers.
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 Everyone, what do you think of the beer now that it's out and about?
I think it's pretty tasty. It's it complements the hops really well as far as like the fruit notes, I think.
Well, I'm an IPA fan, so I couldn't be happier that we kind of went with the IPA direction. So, 2 thumbs up on my account.
Yeah, I really like the it's citric without being too citric, hoppy without being too hoppy. Love the color, love the ingredients, which we kind of helped influence in terms of their inclusions. So yeah, great beer, and really appreciate you guys brewing it.
And for what it's worth, too, it's being really well received at the tasting room. It's a best-selling beer right
Excellent.
Awesome. I love it. For me, it's got this real smoothness for an imperial IPA and a really nice aftertaste where you kind of just sinks in and just tastes, I don't know, it's nice, rounded, everything about it. It just feels like it's balanced, and kudos to you on the great brewing and recipe.
It drinks a lot smaller than 8%. It's a lot easier to put down a whole bottle of that.
9.5.
I would not think it's like like a 9.5%.
Wait, it's more than 8?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and it's
Last I heard, 9.5 is greater
drinkable.
than 8.
It's
Nine
still
and a-
drinkable.
No wonder.
So tell us about Transplants Brewing.
I guess to describe Transplants, I'd say we're an art-focused brewery that focuses on creative specialty beers and culinary-inspired things.
Well, here's a question for you, Brandon. How did you meet Matt, and how did you wind up with Transplants?
I used to make their posters for Matt's former band that he was in. In the middle of them working with them, Matt and Sarah became home brewers, and they needed help as far as coming up with a logo. So that was 6-7 years ago. So
My friend Zach, who was a guitar player in the band, and at the time you had kind of got me into beer, so just anywhere there's a brewery, we're seeking stuff out. So after NAMM, I'm like, well, shit, let's go to Bootleggers. So we went to the original Bootleggers location, but we actually were playing Giant Jenga with some crazy drunk girl, and that turned out to be Brandon's wife. Well, not at the time, but and we had a good time drinking and playing games together. And probably within the first like half an hour, she's just like, "Oh, you guys seem cool. My husband should do art for your band." And then somehow 6 months later, she brought him to a show, and then I don't know, kind of told him he had to do it.
Like everything's meant to be, and that kind of also ties in to Matt, Sarah, and Charles. How long ago did you guys meet?
Yeah, I think we met in 2009, but originally meeting Charles, we lived like 2 buildings away, but there was a pool there, and they were having a pool party get together. We're like, oh great, we're going to go to the pool party get together.
I was looking around this get to know your neighbors party. I'm looking around and I see this long-haired guy and his wife just like kind of hanging off to the side by themselves. I'm like, hey, that's my thing. I got to see who's trying to do my thing. So I walk over, I'm like, you're a musician, right?
Yeah.
And we start talking, and Matt's like, hey, do you like to light up? I'm like, no. Do you like craft beer? He's like, no. I'm like, we should be friends. I used to homebrew in my garage back then, so I invited them over and opened up my fridge and was giving them all kinds of craft beer, like Firestone anniversary beers and big, 10 or 12% barrel aged beers and Belgian beers and stuff. And I guess that was stuff you hadn't really experienced before, or if you had, maybe you didn't like it before. I don't know, but that seemed to be kind of a turning point.
We didn't even really know or appreciate good beer at that point. Like we didn't really discover good beer until our 30s.
I could do a real quick history. I had been married and then I separated in the year 2000 and got divorced in 2001. Mike was a good friend of mine at that time, and he was hanging out with me one night. He's like, I think you're ready to understand what beer has to offer you now.
Indeed.
And so we went across the street to a BJ's Brewing back when they used to actually have their own brewery there, and they made decent beers. And I used to think beer was all like Corona and Bud, and I hated it. But I had a Hefeweizen and an Imperial Stout and a red ale and a brown ale, and I was just like, this stuff is so good.
But back then it was kind of fun because I think in hindsight the beers weren't great, but they were pretty respectable for what they were, and they had a lot of beer tastings. Charles and I went to
every month.
Every month for a while. There's another one down at LAX that did for a while, so fun to learn a lot about craft beer in a concentrated period through all those tastings and hanging out.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. So I think
you're wrong.
Did I possibly kind of introduce you to some of the better beers, and then you kind of corrupted Charles, and Charles, you infected Matt and Sarah? So I just want to say I'm sorry if I'm the root of all this.
Why?
You are the root of all evil. So tell us some more interesting stuff.
When we first started brewing, there's a lot of people related to this album that we ended up meeting. The runes that you guys had for the first album, and those were designed by Eric Sina, who also did the cover and the design for Surviving Humanity. It was Eric that introduced us to East Side Brewers, because I think we went over and brewed with him and Scott. And then Eric ended up helping us out with stuff because he's designed bottle labels for the brewery and some other places. So he helped us get our design for our bottle labels and our growlers in order. And, Brandon's kind of been riffing on that ever since with the bottle labels, but that's still based on Eric's design from the beginning. Another person who was there for the first or second brew was Scott Stratton, who's the person who mastered your album. So just a lot of people added to that. And I think when we first were brewing with you and in your garage, Charles, that was all Mike's equipment.
I still have it.
And also at the same time when that was happening, before we really got into brewing, just early on, right around the time when we first met you, I think we figured out later on that my other band before that actually shared a practice space with people that play with John, because 100 Foot Snowman was right down the hall from freaking Missy.
Oh my gosh, really?
So it's just a small world. I don't know. From every angle.
My take from all of this is basically that everything is John's fault.
I'm responsible for all the corruption.
Of everyone.
By the way, seriously, your new live space is incredible. Way insane. It's so phenomenal. You should be very proud and excited about, well, we're excited about what that's going to be.
We started, after Charles introduced us to brewing, we started brewing in 2012, and that was summer of 2012, and by fall of 2014, we had keys to our place. Sarah and our other business partner were working on stuff, and I honestly didn't believe it was going to happen, and just kind of like, yeah, them for a while and helped out when I could, and then at a certain point, it's like, oh shit, like you signed a lease, like we're in trouble. But then as far as like creating the space,
they hired me just to work on the logo. To put that was it. That was the plan from the beginning, just to put the logo up, and it looked like a gymnasium in there. Like that's exactly what it looked like. It was just nothing else was on the wall except for the logo. And then I was like, is it cool if I just fill up the rest of the space? So
it was organic. It was just something that organic.
Yeah, they had the space before we had any idea what the artwork was going to be on the wall.
Mm.
So.
Well, then also at that point, you're like, yeah, can I put other stuff there? Cool. Like, what do you want? And we're just like, I don't know, put stuff, whatever you want. And then you're just, really? Anything?
Anything. Yeah. And I remember repeating that night over and over again to them that they were crazy. Like I said that probably a dozen times after they told me that I could paint whatever I wanted.
But isn't
Like,
that the best, to be a little crazy? And
it is absolutely the best. Yeah.
how can people get these paintings if they wanted to buy
You
them?
can purchase those ones on my website at blsingleton.com.
Okay.
If you want to go check them out.
All of the live streams are available to go rewatch at transplants.live. So there's several pieces, the mural, but also some other art pieces that Brandon has for sale that you can watch him create from scratch, which is kind of neat.
We gave you access to a copy of the album, and I'm just curious, how did you decide amongst yourselves that Sincerely Satan was the beer that had to be made to go with the
So
album?
we were meeting in the event space, which is pretty much the hell room. I think, I forget who said blood orange, but that really made it work too. And also we like to laugh about, there's a review we got from someone on Yelp once that says that Brandon makes Satan pedo art, and that we have like underground ties to like Skunk Works up there. I don't know. It was some crazy conspiracy theory stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't know. We like to embrace that. It's fun. And actually, I think we all kind of liked the potential controversy around putting Satan in our beer name, and we really thought that people were going to give us hell about it. But all we get was devil horns and encouragement. The one interesting thing that the bartenders were saying, though, is people don't want to come in and order Satan. So they're like, well, give me the blood orange one. So I guess that's kind of a trend. I just think that's funny.
That's funny.
I just order the Satan every time. I'll Satan, please.
I think that's just what we call it. Yeah. Oh, Satan.
I'll have a growler of Satan.
Growler Satan.
My understanding of what the lyrics are about is it's like the rock and roll temptation of like selling your soul to the devil to make it, but like, instead, versus the patience of doing it the hard way and earning it, right? Something like that.
Sort of. It's you're your own Satan. You're your own devil, and it's taking those shortcuts. It's sabotaging your own life and making everything more difficult for yourself than it needs to be. It's being your own demon in your own world a little bit.
Brandon, you created a pretty funny looking Satan. So
Yeah, it's.
I was trying to do something approachable. Like, if anyone gets upset about that, then that's fine with me.
I'd go drinking with him.
I
Yeah.
love it.
You
When
have
I
gone
saw
drinking
this,
with him.
Yeah.
In fact, you probably are him.
I feel like that's like my inner child.
Yeah, everything I draw, I try to do an equal part cute and morbid. So
It's
So
like
Brandon,
me.
why the hat? Why has he got that little hat?
Because
I don't know, because he's a little hipster asshole.
I love it. No, when I saw it, I just thought you're brilliant. You're
No, I don't know.
amazing.
I used to have a hat just like that, and it looks more like an artist hat. So
Yeah.
Anyway, Matt and Sarah, you designed the beer. Brandon, you designed the logo. We did the song.
Yes, we have CDs and shirts up at the register.
It's on the website under merch.
Cool.
The beer's doing really.
I'm happy that the beer's doing well and people liking it. It's really tasty.
I try to think about what would appeal to me. Just like, well, I don't know this band, but that's a really cool tie-in. I'll give it a go. I just wanted to get that chance thing because I think if people hear your music, they'll like it. So just kind of like, how do we introduce it to people who just have no idea and are just in to get a beer? You guys did an amazing job in your album. I think you should be really proud of what you did. I was just listening to it before we started again. Just, I don't know, to get in the mood, I guess. But I think you guys really, having been through trying to just pull off an album before, whatever, I just know all the work that goes into it and how much of your heart you have to pour into it. I think it turned out really good. You guys should be very proud of yourself.
yeah, I think it was really well done. I think it was really
Cool.
cool.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Means a lot.
you guys are into such great beer, great music, great art. I just want to move in. So I'm just gonna stay there indefinitely if you don't mind.
I couldn't think of better people to pair our music with. Cheers, guys.